So welcome. Today I'm going to talk about the science of soap. And when making soap, there's two main ingredients, kind of three, but two main ingredients. And the first ingredient is what's called sodium hydroxide. And that's represented in NOH, which is, again, another word for sodium hydroxide is lye. It's an alkali. The other ingredient is a triglyceride or a fat, which is represented in the C6H8O6. And when you marry these two ingredients together with water, usually water, the lye or sodium hydroxide will saponify, a process called saponification, will saponify the fats into a soap. And the reason why soap is such a great cleaner is because soap has an oil-loving and a water-loving head molecule. So when it sees those molecules, it immediately grabs onto it. To go in more detail about these chemicals, again, I mentioned sodium hydroxide. And sodium hydroxide now is used as a drain cleaner you can buy in hardware stores. In the past, well, if you ever have burnt organic material like wood, like ash wood or hickory wood, you notice that white powdery substance around the ashes, that's the lye. So people who were burning wood all the time for food or whatever had wood ash all the time. So they gather those ashes when they switched to coal burning, it actually changed things, which I'll go into in another video. But when they were burning wood, they would gather that ash, they would put it, and they would leach it through kind of a barrel. And the result would have been actually what they called potash or potassium hydroxide. And potassium hydroxide will actually make a softer soap. So soap in the past was probably like kind of a soft jelly-like substance. Sodium hydroxide now is going to make a hard soap. The thing about sodium hydroxide, very caustic, very dangerous. Be very, very careful when handling this. Make sure you have your gloves and goggles on. Make sure there's no children and animals around. Super dangerous. Make sure you mix the water and the lye outside so you don't breathe in the fumes. You'll get really sick if you do. Trust me, you don't want to do that. So very dangerous chemical. Again, you can buy in any hardware store. And again, it comes from the ashes of organic material. The other ingredient that I mentioned is a triglyceride or a fat. And in the past, that would have been fats like beef tallow, which is rendered cattle fat, or lard, which is rendered pig fat. Could also be coconut oil, olive oil. Some people like to use castor oil, apricot oil. But it has to be a fat. Again, take a fat in an alkali solution like lye or sodium hydroxide or potassium hydroxide, marry them together, and a process of saponification ends up happening. So that's kind of a little bit about the science of soap. And hopefully